Welcome in, everyone. We have some breaking news about a possible imminent Israeli strike on Iran. This is breaking literally within minutes of me making this video, wherever you guys might be watching it from. It appears the Israelis are gearing up to possibly hit Iran. This is going on as President Donald Trump of the United States are trying to pursue a peace deal with Iran. We're going to break down the reporting, the signs that indicate a strike might be imminent, and much more. Before we do, please make sure to like and subscribe. Comment with your thoughts below on how you want to see Iran in their pursuit of getting a nuke handled, what you want to see President Donald Trump do, what you want to see the United States do, and any thoughts you have, let me know in the comments below. Make sure to hit that bell so you always know when there's a new video. Now, let's get into it. As we've been talking about for weeks, on this channel, the United States of America is attempting to reach a diplomatic solution, a peaceful solution with the Iranian regime over the country's nuclear program and enriched uranium. The United States does not want to see the Iranians get a nuke. We do not want to see them have weaponized enriched uranium. And President Donald Trump has made it a goal of his to make sure that does not happen. Peace talks appear to be going well. They appear to be trending in the right direction with main negotiator Steve Witkoff leading the way, and it looked like we were going to avoid military action. However, a bombshell report released tonight on May 20th when I'm filming this from CNN, citing multiple government sources, claims that the Israelis might be nearing the decision for an imminent strike on Iranian facilities and Iranian military sites. This would happen while the United States is currently negotiating with the Iranian regime. So I'm going to throw up a couple parts of this report up on the screen. We'll get into all of it. Let's go ahead and start right now with part one. It says, the U.S. has obtained new intelligence suggesting that Israel is making preparations to strike Iranian nuclear facilities, even as the Trump administration has been pursuing a diplomatic deal with Tehran. Multiple U.S. officials familiar with the latest intelligence told CNN. Such a strike would be a brazen break with President Donald Trump, U.S. officials said. It could also risk tipping off a broader regional conflict in the Middle East, something the U.S. has sought to avoid since the war in Gaza inflamed tensions beginning in 2023. Officials caution it's not clear that Israeli leaders have made a final decision and that, in fact, there is deep disagreement within the United States about the likelihood that Israel will ultimately act. Whether and how Israel strikes will likely depend on what it thinks of U.S. negotiations with Tehran over its nuclear program. All right, so we're going to throw up part two now of this report. I'm reading directly. It says, but the chance, this is quoting a U.S. official, an unnamed U.S. official, but the chance of an Israeli strike on an Iranian nuclear facility has gone up significantly in recent months, said another person familiar with U.S. intelligence on the issue, and the prospect of a Trump-negotiated U.S.-Iran deal that doesn't remove all of Iran's uranium makes the chance of a strike more likely. The heightened worries stem not only from public and private messages from senior Israeli officials that is considering such a move, but also from intercepted Israeli communications and observations of Israeli military movements that could suggest an imminent strike, multiple sources familiar with the intelligence said. Among the military preparations that the U.S. has observed are the movements of air munitions and the completion of an air exercise, two sources said. But some of those indicators could also simply be Israel trying to pressure Iran to abandon key tenets of its nuclear program by signaling the consequences if it doesn't, underscoring the ever-shifting complexities the White House is navigating. All right, this is part three. I'm going to throw up on the screen for you right now. This is a big one because it talks about something we've talked about at length, and that is the fact that the Israelis lack the ability to actually completely take out Iran's program. At best, they can do a Band-Aid approach, and we're going to get into what this means here after we do. So this is part three. Iran is in its weakest military position in decades after Israel bombed its missile production facilities and air defenses in October, combined with an economy weakened by sanctions and Israel's decimation of its most powerful regional proxies. Israel, U.S. officials say, sees a window of opportunity. The U.S. is stepping up intelligence collection to be prepared to assist if Israeli leaders decide to strike, one senior U.S. official told CNN. But a source familiar with the Trump administration's thinking told CNN the U.S. is unlikely to help Israel carry out strikes on Iranian nuclear sites at this moment, short of some major provocation by Tehran. Israel does not have the capacity to destroy Iran's nuclear program without American assistance, which we've talked about at length, including mid-air refueling and the bombs required to penetrate the facilities deep underground. A need that is also reflected in previous U.S. intelligence reports, according to a source familiar with the matter. An Israeli source told CNN that Israel would be prepared to carry out military action on its own if the U.S. were to negotiate what this source described as a bad deal with Iran that Israel cannot accept. This is quoting another U.S. official. I think it's more likely they strike to try and get the deal to fall apart if they think Trump is going to settle for a bad deal. So they're saying Israel might strike to blow up, no pun intended, any chance of a deal. The Israelis have not been shy about signaling that to us both publicly and privately. So that is the massive report that dropped tonight, dropped on the night of May 20th. And this is huge. Again, they're saying it could be imminent that the Israelis are going to strike. It could be coming at any time. So now let's get into what does this mean? Where do we go from here? Let's talk about that right now. Let's be crystal clear about the stakes of this situation. If Israel carries out a strike imminently on Iran, any chance of a peace deal and a diplomatic solution with the Iranian regime is over. It's done. That will end any and all negotiations with the United States immediately. There will be no further discussions. What you then risk is a significant escalation in the Middle East, which of course the U.S. would be drawn into. The big thing here, the reason that this is so important, is Israel cannot, as noted by CNN, as I've made videos about many times, cannot actually take out all of Iran's facilities. At best case scenario, they can delay their program by 12 months. Some estimates say the best case scenario is only a couple of months. The reason for this is shockingly simple. Iran's facilities, the important ones, are deep under mountains. In order to hit those facilities, you need to use a 30,000-pound bunker buster, which is known as the GBU-57. The GBU-57 can be dropped from a B-2 stealth bomber. Israel does not have the GBU-57, nor does it have B-2 stealth bombers, and the United States isn't going to give either of them to any country in the world. What Israel can do is hit supply lines, stockpiles, things that are kind of hardened underground, but not super underground. They can essentially mop that stuff up. All that will do is make sure negotiations end, and then Iran will race towards a bomb. There is also great fear of escalation. What happens if Iran fires its massive rocket and missile force at Saudi Arabia's oil fields? So the peace negotiations, they're over. They're done. Now Israel bombs, or they're done after Israel bombs Iran in this imminent attack. And Iran responds by firing its missiles and rockets, destroying Saudi oil production. Then what happens? We see gas go to what? $15, $16, $17 a gallon. Saudi Arabia, of course, will then retaliate in their own right. And now we're on the escalation ladder. You have no idea where this could spin out of control. This could turn into an absolute disaster. The United States' stance and policy is we want to pursue diplomacy at this time. We're the most powerful country. We have the most powerful military. We're the ones running the show. I cannot tell you enough. I hope I'm stressing this enough to you, but let me know in the comments what you think. This will derail any chance at peace talks. It will absolutely result in chaos in the Middle East. Now, that doesn't mean World War III. People say World War III. It doesn't mean that. But there's no chance of any kind that Iran gets hit, either in a limited strike or a larger strike, and they do not retaliate in some way. And the reality of the situation is you simply never know how that story is going to end. You simply never know, once you're on the escalation ladder, at what point you can get off. How many people could be killed? How many people could be injured? Who else could get involved? Because again, if Iran starts firing at other countries, U.S. bases in the region, because don't think for 1 second Iran won't fire at U.S. bases in the region. They absolutely will. Then the United States will, of course, feel obligated to respond, and on and on and on and on we go. The peace negotiations seem to be going quite well. Witkoff seems happy with them. Trump seems happy with them. The U.S. administration seems happy with the progress that's been made. And we have a credible military deterrent and card that we can always play on the table. If they get bombed by Israel in an imminent strike, which according to that report, the U.S. has no interest in supporting them in, which backs up previous claims that Trump stopped a previous attempt to do this, then all bets are off. We'll be living in a totally uncharted world at that point. So this is a dangerous time. It is a very fluid situation. I would urge caution. I would urge cooler heads to prevail. The United States, we've been in the Middle East at war for a long time. I'm not convinced we need to do it again. I also don't want Iran to get a nuke. Multiple things can be true at the same time, but at the end of the day, this should be the United States show, the United States decision, because we'll have to deal with the fallout. That's just the simple reality of the situation. But I want to know what you guys think. Let me know in the comments. Should Israel go ahead with the strike? Should the United States attempt to stop the strike? What do you think? I'm very curious to hear your thoughts. Make sure to like and subscribe. Stay tuned for any updates as we have them. And as always, I'll see you all next time.